like to call a meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Good morning, everyone. Calling the roll for the Tuesday, May 28th Board of Control meeting. It is now 11:02 a.m. We have Nan Baker. Here. Dale Miller.
Here.
Trevor Mackler serving as an alternate for Dan Brady. Here. Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Mike Dever. Here. Matt Carroll serving as an alternate for Armin Budish.
Here.
Lenora Lockett. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have our minutes from our last meeting. Everyone could take a look. All right, any questions, comments about the minutes? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any public comment today?
No public comment at this time.
Signed up for public comment. Thank you. On to contracts and awards. We have no tabled items, new items.
Yes, the first new item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-389, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 45386, which will result in an award recommendation to Johnson Controls in the amount not to exceed $482,455, and it's for the purchase of HVAC and related equipment to be used at the Justice Center Tower 2 complex, and that's in connection with the HVAC system renovation project. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Matt Reimer representing the Department of Public Works. This item is an award recommendation to Johnson Controls for part of our mechanical renovation of the Tower 2 former Cleveland Police Headquarters building renovation. So as you may recall, we've had a couple different phases of work at the police headquarters building. One was the acquisition. The second was then the probation relocation from the Marion building and our large build out on the first, second, and fourth floors. And this is now, after our building assessments, the mechanical renovation so that we can have good control of HVAC in that building to support all of our tenants and county users in the building. So this item we put out for bid as an RFP for the full project, both not only the mechanical equipment that's reflected here, but the work as well. In fall of last year, we extended the bid multiple times and ended up getting no bids. So we had to make the decision to perform this project using our county trades, as we had some critical work that needed to happen in advance of last year's heating season startup. So this is the resulting materials request to support our county trades construction. We are recommending a use of a joint purchase program for Johnson Controls through the Sourcewell Sourcewell contract rather. I did get several advanced questions. I hope I've answered those and happy to answer any of your questions about this item.
Any questions? Yes, Councilman.
People are hungry for jobs and work. Can you speculate on why you put it out for bid as a construction project and didn't get any takers?
It really is a great question, Councilman. This is in context. That was a $1.2 million scope of work that when we saw that we did not have any plan holders or minimal plan holders take out plans for the jobs, and at the pre-bid meeting, we extended it 3 separate occasions and still resulting in no bids. We then had another project, the Board of Elections chiller project. We're on our second rebid of that because of no bidders the first time around, or I think it was one unqualified, one non-compliant bid. And we also received no bids on a mechanical renovation at the Halley Warehouse building for our Health and Human Services floor on the 4th floor. So it is a trend that we're seeing in particular to these mechanical projects. I can't speculate on that other than anecdotal evidence that business is good. And for those trades right now, a lot of construction work downtown, but that's nothing formally that the department has received. We're trying to find alternate ways because we can't take on all this work. Our trades just can't handle all of it. But this is one that we feel we must because we have tight timelines associated with it. So we're using this cooperative purchasing agreement to do our materials purchases for this particular job to support the county trades on this tight timeline project. And when I say tight timeline, we can either do it in this cooling season. It has to be during the cooling season. So this is work that, once we go past a point of no return, we've got to complete before the building comes back up on heat. So if we postpone that to the next one, it would have to be the next cooling season is the next opportunity.
When you add the cost of materials to the value of the time put in by the tradespeople, how does the cost compare doing it this way as if we had done it out on bid?
So we still estimate within the same estimate of 1.2 million. We have approximately 800,000 of trades estimated cost associated with this project. Add to the 482,455 that's requested here for materials. So we're still in alignment with what we put out to bid. At least the estimate that we had going out to bid for one portion of the project.
And
Which was, I have that here, excuse me.
this is for the 120 or so new beds, is that correct?
No, sir. This is not that project. This is the police building project. So this is just a mechanical renovation, HVAC condition of equipment in the former police building, unrelated to the jail.
Oh, and what's that space going to be used for when it's completed?
This is not a space project. This is just a systems project for systems within the building. Right now, the building is fully occupied by the Cleveland Police Department, Cleveland Division of Police on floors 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and county operations on floors 1, 2, and 4, probation specifically.
Okay, fine.
Mac, just say a little bit about past use of this joint purchasing process. Has that been a common program?
I don't want to speak out of turn, so if Director Lockett can correct me if I say anything wrong, but a joint purchase program is an exemption that is referenced in both ORC and County Code, I believe. And but with this particular program, I know that Public Works has used it on a couple of occasions. Specifically, we used it to support our shelving purchase for the archives project at the Halley Building. That was a similar sized procurement. But Sourcewell may have been used by other county agencies, but that's the most notable one that I can think of in my time here with Public Works.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just had a general question.
Yeah, Lenore?
Lenore Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. So this project hasn't started, is that what we're stating? I know you mentioned that you started in the fall, but you didn't get any bids, but this purchase order, we haven't authorized anything.
That's correct, Director. We have had some trades progress on the work that we're prepping for, but not purchase of these materials referenced in this. That has not been ordered or authorized to be ordered, no.
If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? There's a motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-390, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Allegro Realty Advisors LTD for real estate strategic management consulting services for the county's real estate portfolio, and it's for the period April 10th, 2017 through June 30th, 2019, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2021, to modify the scope of services effective May 28th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $274,000.
Nicole English with Public Works. So we're asking for a contract extension for our Allegro contract. They're currently in the middle of the disposition where we're selling 4 of our buildings. They are our agent on that. We've been happy with their services so far, and so we'd like to continue for the next 2 years. They were selected initially through an RFQ process, so it was competitive in 17 when it was selected. And there was some questions that were submitted on Friday that I was able to get to this morning, so hopefully those got to you as well.
Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
What are the 4 buildings that we're selling?
We're selling the 3 maintenance yards, so York, Brook Park, and our sanitary building, and then also the Bridge Garage at 25th and Detroit. So they're in the middle of negotiations with all of those purchasers.
And is advising us on selling 4 buildings going to cost $274,000 $1,000, or is there other services that we're going to get for this money?
Yeah, there's others. So actually, those dispositions, they get paid a commission out of, so that's separate outside of the contract. So we have, there's 4 main tasks that they do. So consulting services on a task order basis. Any sort of real estate advisement we need, they've done some parking studies for us related to cost of parking around that we're going to be presenting to council soon. We are paying them for assessment and recommendations $1,000 a month, which is a retainer fee for them. And we have weekly meetings with them, conference calls, where they keep a matrix of all of our ongoing projects and are somewhat keeping us on task for leases and when we need to start looking at renewals. So they're somewhat an extension of our staff. At one point, the real estate department used to be 7 people. It's now 2. So they are really doing some of the high-level work for us on that. And then if there's property acquisition to be made, they're paid again on a task order basis based on their rates. So if we need a new lease, if we decide we want to build a new building or buy a new building, and they handle the transaction, they're paid to do that work too. So $24,000 is a standard. That's the $1,000 a month for 2 years. The remaining $250,000 will be task order as needed. So not to exceed amount, just based on what we use.
There are no further, yes, Trevor.
Nicole, could one of the task orders be any decision regarding the Justice Center, or would that be an additional contract just potentially if we use Allegro?
Yes, so that would be well, I guess if we, within the next 2 years, decide to acquire the property, they could help us through this contract, but the owner's rep contract does have CBRE under them as a sub to do some real estate work, so they would be assisting on that front. But we could tap into Allegro if something is needed for that.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Just trying to think back, are they involved in and I think I heard you say that when we have leases coming up, are they involved to give us a heads up that, hey, in 6 months, this lease comes up and we're going to need to renew? That's the type of things they do?
Yeah, so that's what, when we first entered into this contract, they did 2 pieces there. They did a look at HHS's buildings and their operations and made recommendations. And then the second part of the original contract was to, they were involved years ago when the first county executive came to do our initial real estate study, but it sort of went dormant for a few years. And so it was to re-engage them and get us making sure that we were tracking our leases and in a timely fashion, that we needed to get out ahead so that we weren't coming to you with late leases. That's the intent now. And so they've got us caught up and monitoring and sort of keeping us on step to make sure that we were having some troubles internally, just having one person making sure, pushing the landlords. They have the relationships also on that side that somewhat help us along.
Okay, so this, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is something new that they will be engaged in?
I would say the last year they've been doing this for us, and they will continue to.
So I think I have heard, if I may, I'm sorry,
Sure.
had some issues where properties were late in
Correct.
asking to continue to renew. And I guess this would be an asset then to make sure that we're not, because we could lose our lease if we don't,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, they've done a really nice job of sort of categorizing all of our leases and critical dates, and then giving us backup time as to, a year ahead you need to be thinking, 6 months ahead we need to be at this point, 3 months ahead we should have the contract in, and getting us on track. So I think we're fairly caught up. Again, that's how we think at this point. They've done a good job of some of the airport leases. There's been recommendations of changing those. They've worked on several of those for us too.
If I just may want to ask, the license bureaus, were they involved at all of that with a lot of the reorganization of consolidation, I believe?
The auto titles, they did
Yes.
help us negotiate the
They did.
leases. Yeah, the new one in Bedford, I believe.
Okay.
So they've been involved in some of those too.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further questions. I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Motion second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Nicole?
Next item is a two-part item, item BC 2019-391, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45678, which will result in an award recommendation to Rush Trucks Centers of Ohio, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $153,889, and it's for the purchase of one 2020 International HV 607 SBA 4x2 truck with aluminum service body. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This first item, we're looking to make an award recommendation, a Rush truck. It's for 2020 International Construction Truck. It's for our sanitary division. The purchasing method was through the ODOT co-op contract, which is secures us, the best price possible. ODOT bids their stuff. They do have one of the greatest buying powers. I think ODOT alone has 2,000 trucks in their fleet. By purchasing through the ODOT co-op, we can build the truck as specified. We purchased something similar earlier this year because a lot of these trucks have two pieces. They got the body and chassis. By purchasing through this ODOT, we can buy it or build it to spec as one piece.
All right. Any questions? Councilwoman.
So with the backup, this will replace the 2002 truck?
So it's a new truck. But the operational needs have changed. It's sanitary, so it's a replacement, but it's not a replacement. So it's going to replace a truck that was a different type of truck, if that makes sense.
And 2002, that's what, 15, 16
Yes.
years old? Is that going to be just sold or retired?
I would have to verify, if that's typically we hand stuff down. I don't recall if that one was on Gov Deals. Typically we'll hand it down. If it was in frontline service with sanitary, a lot of times those trucks get handed down to our facilities and our trades guys, but, I can verify and get back to you on that.
And just one other, will this truck, do you believe, last another 15 years? Is this a kind of truck that we wouldn't have to replace for many years, or given the old truck that this is better?
A lot of these trucks, they do have a lot of wear and tear,
Yeah.
But I know our fleet, they maintain them. This will come with a warranty. We'll get, it may not have high miles, but they'll, what happens with a lot of these trucks is they get worn out, they get rusted out. But, I would hope that this would last 10 years.
10 years.
That's my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? There's a motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Next item, BC 2019-392, again, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 43407 and enter into a contract with Chemtron Corporation in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for collection, transportation, recycling, and/or disposal of hazardous/non-hazardous waste. And it's for the period May 28th, 2019 through May 27th, 2022.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. Looking to make an award recommendation to Chemtron. It's a not to exceed $150,000 3-year contract. It's an as-needed contract, so there's no set schedule. This is as needed. We could go weeks, we can go months without use. This was a formal bid through OPD. It went to 17 vendors. We had one bid submitted. We did have that bid verified. I know there was a pre-question about the price. We did have the environmental manager for Public Works in the county review it. He was satisfied with the bid prices. There's some bids, some prices were a little bit higher, some were lower. Some of the services and materials that they could possibly pick up would be glycol, lead, asbestos, any other type of volatile or contaminated fluids. So it's an as-needed service, so we have it in place. That's for any county building that we have.
Any questions? Councilman?
Do we have similar service currently in place, and what are we paying for it?
This particular contract, we don't. We had minimal use, so we had, I think earlier this year, we had one task that we bid out informally. That actually had 2 bids. We did award to Chemtron. Last year, we had one service task that we requested. We bid that informally. The prices are comparable. This contract has a lot more detail to it. There's a lot more pricing items. Just so we can capture any type of business need that we would have. So we're not just going to add, glycol and lead, asbestos. There's, I think, 15 or 20 different types of things that I've never even heard of. But, we worked with our environmental health manager to capture, the best specs, so.
Okay.
There are no further questions. I'd like to make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-393, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 44195 and enter into a contract with Cintas Corporation, number 2, in the amount not to exceed $97,424 for floor mat services at various county locations. And it's for the period May 28th, 2019 through May 27th, 2022.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. Recommending award to enter in contract with Cintas. This was for the county's floor mat services. It's a 3-year contract, $97,524. This was a formal RFP that we conducted through the county's procurement department. Went to 13 vendors. We had 2 proposals that were submitted. They were evaluated by a Public Works team, scored. Cintas was the highest scoring vendor. They were also lowest priced by about 12%. Any questions?
Questions? Councilwoman?
Who was our supplier before this?
It was Aramark.
And did Airmark one of your 2?
They were one of the 2. They were technically non-responsive based on RFP scoring, and their price was 12% higher. So.
Thank you.
There are no further questions. I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? It's motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is a 2-part item. Item number BC 2019-394, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45359, which will result in an award recommendation to Ohio CAT in the amount not to exceed $66,063.85. And it's for the purchase of 1 priming assisted centrifugal pump. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Tom Pavich again, Public Works. Requesting an exemption purchase to Ohio CAT. This is for a specialized pump to be used for our sanitary divisions, specifically at, I think, 3 of our different pump stations. As you know, the county sanitary division, they operate 63 pump stations, 2 wastewater treatment plants. This is a pump that will support some of those unique pump stations. The purchase is actually off of the NJPA Sourcewell contract, which was competitively bid, and the price was negotiated through Sourcewell. So we're looking to purchase off of that method.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? This motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-395, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 44235 and enter into a contract with Soundcom Corporation in the amount not to exceed $49,000 for preventative maintenance and repair of communication equipment located at various county locations. And it's for the period May 28, 2019 through December 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Tom Pavich again, Public Works. Sorry. This one, we're requesting an award to Soundcom. This is a 17-month contract, $49,000 not to exceed. It's an as-needed contract again. This is for various county buildings. This is for speaker, sound system, preventive maintenance, repairs, pieces, parts as needed. This was an informal bid done through BuySpeed and went to 39 vendors. And when 1 bid was submitted, we actually did 3 efforts to get that 1 bid for this contract.
Any questions? Councilman?
How do we know this is a reasonable price?
It's comparable to the last time we bid out with these guys. And I spoke to one of our maintenance, our superintendents, and he said these prices are comparable. They've gone up with inflation over the years, but last few times we had individual bids for pieces, parts for this related service. The prices were comparable.
Tom, about how many different buildings are served by this contract?
And technically, we cover all buildings. This is primary for the Justice Center complex. So when you go in the judges' chambers, the courtrooms,
All the
all of
recording.
those speakers, yes. So when we talk SoundCom, we're primarily speaking Juvenile Justice Center and the Justice Center, but other buildings do have sound systems that we did include that we could use as various buildings. And the jail stuff as well, anything to do with the jails.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the items. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-396, Department of Information Technology and the Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45660, which will result in an award recommendation to Diversitech Resources Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $72,428.27 for software maintenance and support on 20 Tableau desktop professional licenses and 1 Tableau server 8-core V9 enterprise license. And it's for the period May 26, 2019 through May 25, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Board. Dennis Sullivan with the Department of IT. As was read to you, this is a purchase off of a state term contract. It's a renewal, software maintenance renewal. You've seen this before. It's the same cost as the last previous renewal. What this software does, if you recall, it does the analytics behind all the data, the volume of data. Its primary use is with Job and Family Services through a service they call CATS, which is their case assignment tracking system. It does things such as number of users, time of use, peak usage, what applications are being used most, what users are using it most. Again, it's an analytical software that takes the volume of data that's out there and puts it into a more manageable, usable, management-friendly format for them.
Any questions? Councilwoman?
Just curious why it's just for 1 year.
You know, I thought about that, Dan. I don't know the exact answer for you. I know that it was previously used by the prosecutor's office also besides HHS and IT. This is going forward without the prosecutor's use or participation, but I'd have to get back to you on that. I know it informally, they went out to 2 other vendors. They got 2 other prices. So I know the state term still came in lower. And pricing wise, it was lower than they got informally from 2 other vendors, one being Carasoft, the other one being, I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, Hacion, H-A-C-Y-O-N.
Okay, just curious, it's a blink, a year. Yeah, thank you.
It may have, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but it may have something to do with the prosecutor getting out and adjusting everything. I'm not positive.
Thank you.
Yes, Trevor.
Dennis, do you know why the prosecutor's office decided to remove themselves from this contract?
No.
Do you know if they still require these maintenance, the maintenance?
Well, they
on
won't be
this?
using the product.
They will not be?
No, if they're not on the maintenance piece, then not part of the license participation.
They can't.
Yeah.
If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Next item, BC 2019-397, Department of Human Resources, submitting an amendment to a contract with College Now of Greater Cleveland, Inc. for student loan restructuring services for Cuyahoga County employees. And it's for the period May 15, 2016 through May 14, 2019, to extend the time period to May 14, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Good morning, Holly Woods, Director of HR for Benefits and Compensation. So this is a 1-year extension of HR's contract with College Now. It's a Cleveland-based local nonprofit. Counselors come on site and meet individually with county employees to discuss things such as loan restructuring, income-based repayment options, and the public service loan forgiveness program. Since we've engaged them, approximately 96% of employees who've attended sessions are eligible for some form of public service student loan forgiveness. Overall, average monthly savings to employees who had a one-on-one meeting is about $506. In addition, College Now has assisted employees with other needs, including FAFSA forms. scholarships, loan deferments, forbearance requests, and general payment plan assistance. We're asking to continue this service for interested employees, to meet with those employees who either did not meet with a counselor in the past year, those employees who are approaching requirements for loan forgiveness, and those who are or will be new to county employment.
Holly's intended to serve both employee and any, if they have children, you know, families, or is it mostly for their particular needs?
It's mostly for their particular needs. When it comes to loan forgiveness, because that's specific to public service, but they have done some assistance if an employee brings some forms and has some questions, they'll assist there as well. But as far as bringing a family member to a meeting, that's not a service they provide.
Right. Any other questions? Councilwoman or Councilman?
Is there any sign that we're getting to the point where most people who might benefit from this have already been served, other than new county employees, or is there still plenty of demand out there?
I think that we will do another evaluation after this next year extension. As we continue to bring employees on, we do still see a high rate of attendance going to the meetings. In addition, those needs change over time. So employees become eligible for the the loan forgiveness after 10 years of making payments. So oftentimes an employee may have met with them maybe the first year that they were with us, and within the next 4 years, they're now in a different position where they're maybe now eligible for loan forgiveness or something like that. So while some of them get a loan reduction and they're, you know, set on their way, others may need to go back through and make adjustments. So I do think maybe within the next year, we'll start to see that slow down. But as we continue to hire new employees, those employees go through that cycle as well. So it might be something after a period of time, maybe we look at every other year or something to that effect. But it's been a pretty steady increase over the last 3 years, which is why we're requesting the 1-year extension right now.
And are these loans public or private?
They are federal loans, specifically for the forgiveness. It's federal loans in the direct loan program.
So is the forgiveness provided for in federal legislation, but delegated to local providers?
I believe so. I have to double check
It's
that.
it's that very troubled federal program that has had a very, very low rate of approval,
Right.
and then lots of problems. But it's all federal, Councilman. Yeah.
So basically, we help them navigate the difficult and convoluted federal process. Is that- Okay.
Correct. So if they did this on their own, they would most likely be paying a firm, and if they weren't using College Now, they would be paying a firm, and oftentimes those expenses are very high, and they're not seeing the turnaround that we are through College Now, who they do not get any commission or anything based on the numbers that they provide or deferrals that they provide to our employees.
Hopefully, the federal government is going to do something to fix this problem.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, this seems to be the way to go.
Right.
Any further questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item, item BC 2019-398, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services and the Sheriff's Department. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45618, which will result in an award recommendation to Motorola Solutions, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $138,988.65, and it's for the purchase of 3 consoles, related equipment, and configuration. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety, and we're requesting to purchase these 3 radio consoles from the state contract. These consoles, one of them is going to be used by CCOMS, the other 2 by the Sheriff's Office, and these are the consoles, are the equipment that dispatchers use to communicate with the first responders out in the field.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? There's motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item. Item BC 2019-399, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45570, which will result in an award recommendation to the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $30,000 for development and implementation of a protection order registry in connection with the fiscal year 2016 Improving Criminal Justice Responses to Sexual Assault, Domestic Violence, Dating Violence, and Stalking Program, and it's for the periods June 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2019, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption. And I'd also, if it's okay, like to read into the record the second item, which is associated with it, is just a different requisition number, but for the same services. Recommending the award, this is item number BC 2019-400, again, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45567, which will result in an award recommendation to Cleveland Rape Crisis Center in the amount not to exceed $20,000, again, for development and implementation of a protection order registry in connection with the fiscal year 2016 Improving Criminal Justice Responses to Sexual Assault, Domestic Violence, Dating Violence, and Stalking Program. And it's for the period June 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2019, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn again. And Legal Aid and Cleveland Rape Crisis are going to be helping to develop training curriculums and conduct training for court and prosecutor personnel as it relates to the protection order registry that the Board of Control approved back in January of this year. These were 2 of 3 partners that were specified in the grant application to be working on this project. And I have with me Jill Smilik, who's the manager of our Witness Victim Services Center, who can answer any programmatic questions you may have.
Any questions? Councilwoman?
Looks like a pretty intense goals on the list on our backup sheet, but it's for 4 months.
Good morning, Jill Smilik for Public Safety and Justice Services. So it is only for 4 months because that is in compliance with our federal grant, the end date of our federal grant. Okay. We needed to ensure that we had a start on the development of the protection order registry system, because a part of what our training partners will be training on is the use of the system and the importance of using it properly. So right now our grant period is only through September 30th, 2019, but we will be applying for an extension this year, but we cannot apply for that extension until July. So at some point we will come back to this group for extensions on these contracts.
Okay, so if I'm to understand, you're using the time that's left, these 4 months, could have been done sooner, but you had to be prepared for it before you could ask. And then you're very hopeful that you will be able to extend this past the September to continue your work.
Correct. We've been in contact with our federal program officer, who's aware of our intentions of asking for an extension, and she sees no problem with granting that extension.
And how long do you anticipate that extension to be? Complete your work.
Excuse me. We anticipate a 1-year extension, so October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Yes, Andrea.
I would like to read into the record, I inadvertently stated the requisition number for BC 2019-400 incorrectly. As read and printed on the agenda, it is requisition 45568. Need some new glasses.
Andrea, can we do both at the same time or do them separately?
Yes, we
okay.
can.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve both 399 and 400 since they are the same project and 2 different entities that we're working with. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving these 2 items, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks.
Moving on to item number BC 2019-401, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, recommending an award on requisition 45096 to Wyland Associates LLC in the amount not to exceed $12,006.50 for a National Incident Management System, Incident Command System, All Hazards Planning Section Chief Course Training Services, and it's for the period June 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2019.
This contract will bring in an instructor to conduct a 4-day planning section chief course, and they'll be training up to 30 emergency responders. We did solicit informal quotes. We received 3 responses, and Wyland is the lowest price vendor, and it was also the one that we thought could best meet our needs.
Any questions? Councilwoman?
And again, this is 30 days.
Correct. Actually, this is just a week-long training. It's a 4-day training, actually, and I think it's scheduled for the week of June 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-402, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an agreement with Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County in the amount not to exceed $250,000 for mental health services in the Intervention Center, and it's for the period January 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2019.
Good morning, Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This is for a contract with the Adams Board to provide mental health assessments in our new intervention center. The state provided us with $500,000 in order to help get our intervention center up and running. And part of that was that we had to work with our local Adams Board to get a vendor in to do the assessments. So the Adams Board did conduct an RFP for this, and I'm sure you're wondering about the dates on here. The Adams Board did conduct the RFP, which was not conducted until, I believe, fallish time last year. In order for us to do the contract with the Adams Board, we had to wait for the Adams Board to do theirs with the vendor that was chosen, which was Applewood Centers Incorporated. Adams did not get their contract completed with them until March of 2019, despite this project needing to begin on January 1st. We also then didn't get our contract back from the Adams Board until April 25th. So unfortunately, here we are. And I did bring with me Bridget Gibbons, who is part of our Programming and Quality Assurance Department, to kind of talk about the overall gist of our new intervention center, if you guys have any questions about that as well.
So is this the West Side site? Is that the...
This is going to be located in our, it's at the court. The intervention
Oh,
center.
it's at the court. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to say a minute, just a minute or two about what it entails.
Sure. So the intervention center was developed when we took a look at how kids come into the system, how kids come to the attention of the juvenile justice system. Historically, we have not conducted any type of behavioral health screening. We were not utilizing any type of validated risk assessment. Kids were not receiving any comprehensive mental health assessment until they were pretty far into our juvenile justice system. And so we gathered around for that 5-day brainstorming and process map and developed subcommittees from there to decide we really need to take a better look at kids as they enter into the juvenile justice system. As we know, delinquency does not happen in a vacuum. There's lots of forces behind a kid's delinquency. So 60 to 70% of all kids that come to the attention of juvenile justice have a diagnosable mental health disorder. So from there, we wanted to move our assessment piece far up into the diversion point of a kid's experience with their system to help them get diverted out to the appropriate behavioral health systems.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions?
I have one.
Yes, Councilwoman first, then Trevor.
Is that right? So we're left with 30 days, right? So how are we going to accomplish the goals of 6 months into 30 days?
Unfortunately, the services have already begun. Applewood is already conducting the assessments for us in the intervention center. And the reason why we have a June 30th end date on here is just based upon the grant funding.
Right.
So we will be coming forth in a couple more weeks to extend it out till the end of the year, so December 31st of 2019. So it'll continue for an additional 6 months after that.
And of course, no funds have been given to Applewood. They have been doing this, waiting for us to approve.
We would be getting invoices from the Adams Board for this, since the Adams Board is the one contracting with Applewood. However, as of today, we have not received any invoices from the Adams Board.
All right. Thank you.
Any, Trevor, yeah, go ahead.
So will every juvenile that comes through the system get this assessment, or is it based on what certain criteria, or how does that work?
So our goal, our long-term goal is that every child that comes to the attention of the court will have this assessment. At this point in time, we're in phase 1, which is our kind of our soft open for the intervention center. So it's all misdemeanors that come to the attention of the court, and some select felonies that the prosecutor's office deems to be eligible for diversion. So we are in phase 1, and we're receiving any case that is misdemeanor offense or below, and then some felony cases. Whether they're going official, they're getting the screening process, they're approved for diversion already, or diversion is something that we need to make a determination at in the intervention center. Phase 2 will be then police drop-offs, any kid that could be diverted away from our detention center, in all felony cases, whether they're going to go on probation or they come through as a detention center admission. But we need to staff up the intervention center before we can begin that phase 2.
And is the court charged on per assessment? Is it a per assessment fee, or is this the flat fee that covers?
So not all children get the full comprehensive Applewood assessment. We're using a behavioral health screener called the MAISY-2, and the MAISY-2 is it's a behavioral health screener. It looks like at thought disturbances, depression, anxiety, aggressive, those kinds of things, somatic complaints. When it flags that the child appears to have some clinical concerns, they're the screeners, our folks will do, we call them intervention specialists, will do the second screener to have more of a narrative conversation with the child. At that point in time, if there's some clinical concerns, those kids then will be referred to our clinicians that are housed in the same office. And right now, I think we're doing about 30% of the kids that come to the intervention center are getting the full Applewood comprehensive assessment.
Right.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
After, obviously, the grant period is running out, and at the start of 2020, does the court have dedicated funding source for this, or is this something that, Sarah, you think is going to be a request to council and the executive for additional funding to keep the program going?
At this point, we are trying to write this component of the intervention center into other grant applications, and we're hoping that we'll be able to sustain it through other grant funding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-403, again, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a contract with Kronos Incorporated for maintenance and software support services on the Comprehensive Human Resources Management System. And it's for the period April 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2020 for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $52,890.
Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This is an amendment to our Kronos contract. That is the maintenance and software on our human resources system. This amendment is going to cover the cost of an upgrade. Currently, we're running on version 6, and this will upgrade to version 8. Our current system is continuously crashing, and we're having a lot of issues with it. Kind of simultaneously, we're also looking at meeting with County IT and Infor to talk about whether or not the ERP system will be beneficial to us. We actually have a demo scheduled with them on June 11th. So we're working simultaneously to look at if that will meet our needs as well. Just in the meantime, we need to fix the system that we currently have.
Questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-404, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a contract with Piney Ridge Treatment Center, LLC, for residential treatment services for the period August 6, 2018 through August 5, 2019, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $45,000.
Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This is an amendment to our Piney Ridge contract for residential services. This was done back in the summer of 2018 for one particular youth that we needed to send to this facility. So it's not part of our traditional master. This is covering the remaining stay for that youth to be there. The youth was actually discharged on May 3rd successfully. And at the time when we did place this youth outside of our master contract, there was no other provider that we had that would accept him. So that was the main reason why we had to place him elsewhere. So this amendment will cover the cost of his remaining stay.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-405, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an agreement with Positive Education Program in the amount not to exceed $37,500 for school-based liaison services, and is for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This is a revenue generating agreement with PEP schools, and this covers half of the salary and benefits of a school-based probation officer that's actually located at the school. So this probation officer covers cases at both PEP Eastwood and Greenview. And it's just for another year. They've been doing this with us for a number of years now, where they've given us half of the salary and benefits for this individual.
Any questions? Councilman?
Not a question, just a comment. My wife works for the Positive Education Program, so as a matter of caution, I'm going to recuse on this item. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One recusal.
And one recusal. You've noted, right, Andrea?
Next item, BC 2019-406, is a two-part item. Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Early Childhood. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 45200, which will result in an award recommendation to the Children's Museum of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $42,230 for hosting of special universal pre-kindergarten events for families. And it's for the period September 1st, 2019 through August 31st, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with the Office of Early Childhood and Best in Children. Again, this is a contract with the Children's Museum to host up to 7 special events for our UPK families. These evening events will be specifically targeted to UPK participants after normal business hours have ended. They will provide developmental experiences for our families that will allow them to bond through shared experiences. The developmental experiences that the Children's Museum offers are specifically targeted for young children and their families. It's something that we are seeking as part of our 2-gen approach, that we serve the whole family, not just the child or just the parent.
Any questions? These are grant funded?
They are grant
outside
funded.
sources. Yeah. If there are no further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second. Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Margaret.
Next item, BC 2019-407, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending a sole source award on requisition 45128 to Promega Corporation in the amount not to exceed $162,090, and it's for the purchase of 3 semi-robotic extraction machines for the DNA lab.
Good morning, Mary Beth from Public Safety. I'm going to do this on behalf of the Medical Examiner's Office. As we're using grant dollars to actually pay for this purchase, this equipment will actually triple the capacity of the Medical Examiner's Office to process DNA samples. Right now, the machines that they're using process 16 samples at a time. This equipment will process 48 samples. We need to go to Promega because they are the patent holder and the sole manufacturer of this equipment. And when we submitted the grant application, we did make that mention to the federal government, so they realized that when they made the grant fund award.
Any questions? Councilwoman?
Just curious, are we able to process that many? Do we have the capability within the office to handle triple the amount of work?
No, I don't work in the Medical Examiner's Office, but I know that I work closely with Dr. Carr and Dr. Butt, and I have no reason to think that that was an issue. I remember when we were writing this application, this is equipment that they were very enthusiastic about because it would have a huge impact on their operations.
Good, thank you.
There are no further questions. I'd like to make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the item, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, we are on to our consent agenda items.
Yes, consent agenda items numbers BC 2019-408 through 413.
All right, I know there was one question about one of the items that's been addressed. Any questions about the consent agenda items? All right. Hearing none, I would like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving those items, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. I think, Andrea, we don't have any other business today? Is
No,
that right?
there's no other business at
Okay.
this time.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion and second. I'll second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.